is it Los Angeles, California it is? Yeah?
Yes, that's
Yes,
right.
we have with us Valerie Mekki. It's so great to have you on, Valerie, today. And let me, for the first time, officially say hi, Val, because I've been typing that for so long. I wanted to actually say it with my mouth. So it's great to have
I
you on,
know,
Val.
right? It's so good to be here. Happy Saturday, everyone. Thanks, Juma, for having me.
Great, great, wonderful, wonderful. For those people who are not on LinkedIn and have not been privy to your wonderful posts and are not connected with you, please tell the people who you are and what you're about these days.
Absolutely. My name is Valerie Mekki. I am from LA and I am a content writer. But recently I made a career change. I used to be a retail buyer in the fashion industry for over 18 years. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, I found myself laid off. And during that time, I had, I would call it a reinvention, thinking about what I wanted to do next. I was pretty much done with being a buyer. So I took the time during the sheltering in place to think about what I wanted to do. And it was actually writing that came up. And so I have a blog and I taught myself how to write content online. And Juma and I met on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so would you say, yeah, and before I go on, I would say that, yes, we met on LinkedIn. I think I was just looking at your stories and I was really impressed at the fact that you were kind of intertwining a lot of your personal stories with what you've been doing, and you were very public with the fact that at the beginning of the pandemic that you were essentially laid off. And, you know, people don't tend to talk about their failures or what they might perceive as their failures, because in my mind, that is not a failure. That's just like something happening. So, and I know just that was part of the inspiration for the blog in the first place. Could you tell us more about how those things have impacted the way you are approaching your career now?
Yes. So you definitely hit the nail on the head. The fact that I was laid off during the pandemic and I wanted to launch a blog, it was intertwined with each other. Originally, the blog was going to be about project management. So because I was thinking about pivoting into project management, I just thought it was like such an easy segue from being a buyer to project management. But luckily, for some reason, the testing wasn't happening because of COVID. So I was like, well, I still need to show some sort of like, I needed to show my future employer some sort of like case study or some sort of evidence that I understood, how to digitally expand my knowledge while I was looking for a job. Because my resume had nothing to do with digital, nothing, because I never did e-commerce. Everything was related to stores. So my experience on paper didn't match with where I was heading towards in the future. So I thought launching a blog would be the best thing to do. So I launched a WordPress blog, and I felt like I had to share it also with a LinkedIn community because I needed to bring traffic to the blog as well. And it kind of served its purpose to let future employers or recruiters know that, hey, I'm making this content, come over here and take a look. But as I started writing more and more about in the blog, I changed the topic to career changing side hustles, online businesses, because really at the time in the US, there were so many people who were laid off, especially women. So I just wanted to in some way help and put some information out there. And so that's how the blog has come. It started as a side project and now it's a full-time gig.
Right. So that's a big part of your content story. That's like, because if you're saying that you had not done anything digital before, I mean, that's a massive, that's a massive
leap, right?
Yeah, it's a massive leap. I mean, what kind of like, and I know you probably made that decision internally, but was there any person who like said, hey, this is the way to go, and you kind of saw something, or what was that moment?
I think it was more inherent. Like, I've always learned how to like pick up on trends, especially in the fashion industry. You have to pick up on trends. So, and being sheltering in place, you slow down tremendously, right? So you're very aware of what's happening only online, because that's the only thing that you were able to see during that time in 2020. We only had our phones or our laptops to be exposed to the world. So, and I could see that LinkedIn was different than what it was prior to the pandemic. I felt like when I used to go on LinkedIn, it was very professional, it was very polished. But you can tell there was a difference when the pandemic was happening. More people were sharing their stories. So I felt a little bit comfortable with sharing my story on the platform because, almost every day, a lot of people were sharing, like, I lost my job after this many years, so it was very different, LinkedIn. And it still is till this day.
Okay, that's yeah, it is different. I think I came in at the time when, like, at the height of the renaissance of LinkedIn, where
Yeah.
there's still some LinkedIn police who are like, that's for Facebook, but
I still see those policemen still.
Yeah, they're still around. I had somebody the other day comment on a poll I did, and I was like, essentially they're saying this is not what polls should be used for, which is really
Really?
funny. Which is
Huh.
really funny,
It really is, right? Because, like, we're more than our roles. We're not just working robots.
Yes,
We have
it's true.
lives, families. So why wouldn't we share that with each other? It's a part of your personal brand too.
Yes. Yeah. So okay, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know you talk about your kids a whole lot. It's one boy, one girl, right?
Yes. I
Yes,
have a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old.
yes, and actually it was your daughter's birthday, Abigail.
Yeah, yesterday
Yeah,
was her
yesterday.
birthday.
So happy belated birthday to her.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you made a post about it, and you said
Yeah.
that she is your muse and your inspiration for the
Mm-hmm.
website,
Yep.
and she's really involved in
Yeah.
your content creation. She helps you out with Pinterest and things
Yes.
like that. This morning I asked a question
Yeah.
on a poll actually on LinkedIn, and the question was about whether or not every single business degree
Mm-hmm.
should have a component of content creation included.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I think that it should be taught younger. What is your take on that, scene as you have, like, young content creators coming up?
When you said you did a poll and should it be a part of the degree, that's the first thing that popped in my head was like, they should teach in school how to build your personal brand. And that does involve content creation, right? Because there's no such thing as a personal brand if you don't share it with the world, right? To create an audience. However, I want to say that you'd be surprised, or maybe not surprised, that the teenagers who are going to be our next generation, they're already creating content. So I'm not sure if they really need a school, because I feel like she's teaching me about TikTok, right? She understands, like, the cutting of the editing and how it, like, needs to pop and be, and understand the rhythm and all this. It's so cool, just like asking her questions about TikTok. So I can already see in motions what she understands what engagement looks like.
Yeah. Well, let me just hail out Stephen G. Pope on LinkedIn here. He's saying, "How dare you, Juma, with regard to the personal sharing stories and the polls." So yeah, so I guess he agrees.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen, for pointing that out. I can't show the comments today from LinkedIn, but I'm just gonna call whoever out here. I agree. I think Val. I am surprised. My daughters are 9 and 7, and
Mm-hmm.
they just put their hands in stuff and they figure it out. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I mean, there's some things I can teach them, but obviously they are much more inclined in that way to learn these things. They're much faster.
Yes. Like, they understand, like, the musicality of it, the timing of everything, headlines. Like, she gets it. So I don't know if I have much to worry about. I wish they taught us, maybe, part of the degree when we
Mm-hmm,
were going through school.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should kind of what and by they as a catch-all term for
Mm.
educational institutes, higher learning, tertiary educational institutes? Do you think they should then structure it in a way that will be most beneficial? Because the thing about content creation is that
Mm-hmm.
the platforms, the methods, the actual content types are always changing and evolving. So in 2019, live audio as a social media platform wasn't a thing. Then Clubhouse came and just blew the whole thing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now we have different platforms doing the same thing. So it's always changing. Do you think that there should be a structure for it, even though these kids are doing it so well on their own?
I think that they should definitely, I'm going to go back to personal branding. I think that there should be an element of teaching how to build your personal brand online. And that, like I said, goes hand in hand with content creation. Like, I think content creation is so personal. I think because you are putting yourself out there, you're creating your content, that's vulnerability. So you have to feel comfortable, whatever medium that is. It could be audio, right? It could be someone who speaks so well on Clubhouse. It could be writing, like what I do for content writing, or it could be video, going on lives or creating videos, or even just posting images and writing too. So I think that that is something that should be taught for young adults that are entering into the workforce as soon as possible. Actually, you're
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah,
maybe even in high school.
yeah.
Sorry, the
All right,
light in
so
here shuts off. Okay.
all right, so what I'm gonna do, because we're talking about, so we went from a degree, right? We went from that
Mm,
level, and we're going down. We've arrived at high school now, which I think is interesting. So let me just put it out there, right? So
yeah.
so everybody in the comments, and who's watching this video live and who may see it on replay, let us know in the comments. Do you think this type of structure should be put in place from college, high school, or even elementary school? What do you think about that? And for those who are not in who are in another system like my system, that would be university, secondary school, and primary school. What is the structure you think would work for teaching kids about? Well, Valerie says personal branding, which has a component of content creation in it. I'm going to say both of those things together. You know, what should that be? And I guess to some degree, kids are discovering themselves and learning about their personal brand, but to systematize the thing and structure it, and to
Yeah.
teach them to be able to convert those thoughts and those kind of leanings into expression via media, because that's what content is.
Yes.
Yeah, how should that be structured? So that's my question to everyone in the useful content community today. How would that work, and what do you think about that? And let me say hello to Camille Wooding. Camille is saying this is a good discussion. Thank you, Camille, for jumping on LinkedIn and making a comment. I appreciate that. Camille is one of our friends, a friend of the business, our friends inside of the world. We've done work with her and work for her already. All right, that's interesting. So does any of your kids want to become like full-time content creators or no?
Actually, you know, I mean, I would have to ask her again, because Abigail, she's always changing. Like, I think that's what's so beautiful about her generation is like it's limitless to them. They don't see any barriers, right? So last time I talked to her about what she wants to do, because she wants to be a founder one day, she's like, I just want to create like this huge content house so people can just make like
Oh,
content from room to room. And I know
oh,
that exists today, but there's probably something different that she has in mind. But then yesterday she started talking about, you know, mental health awareness and like how she would love to do like, you know, online therapy too. So it's always changing, but I love the fact that there's no barriers, and she's just thinking forward, and how, and I guess in a way it's like serving a community. That's really front of mind for her.
mm-hmm. Wall-to-wall content creation.
Yeah.
You know, just you should be careful. Someone like me is going to steal that idea.
the house of, I think she's like the house of fun, where you just go to different rooms creating
Oh, really?
content.
But they are. I mean, they literally are. They used to be Vine houses, and now they are
Yeah.
TikTok houses.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that thing is like, you know, a
It's
thing that's
happening.
happening. It's
Yeah. But
happening.
who
You
knows what
know.
will happen when she's ready to really take it to the next level, what she'll come up with.
Yeah, because the things that are here now, by the time she gets there, it's going to be totally different. It's going to have new stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you think about it, Juna, like it's changed so quickly already, the landscape of it, right? And I think the pandemic really fast forwarded. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I do think so.
Yeah.
I do think like I'm not sure I would be on LinkedIn if it wasn't for
Yeah.
2020. You know, my life was structured differently. My whole life changed. And as a
Mhm.
result of some of the physical changes, like not having to drop the kids off at school, not
Yeah.
having to drive, because I was like 4 hours in traffic every day. And eliminating that time gave me back hours to focus on other things. And so it made this decision to create content in this way much easier. So yeah, I do think 2020 and the lockdowns, what do you call it? You call it staying in
Shelter.
place,
Yeah.
sheltering
Sheltering in
in
place.
place. Yeah,
Yeah.
had a lot to do with some people's decisions, and definitely my decision to create content in the way I am right now. So
And I love your content. I always look forward to watching your videos because it's so valuable. And I think that there are different ways to approach content, right? It could be personal, like what I did, but for you, it's like showing what you and sharing to the world what you do professionally and your expertise because it's needed. So I think that's what's really fascinating about content is that it does show you, but you can do it in a way that you feel you can find your own lane.
yeah, most definitely. Let's talk a bit about your content now and your blog. Oh, hello, work life to help mid-career professionals pivot. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me. I've gone through your blog,
Okay.
and I like the structure of it. So you're very big on blogging, obviously. That is your
Yeah.
thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you write about career change, leveling up your career, launching and growing your business, essential
Mm-hmm.
things for business success, side
Yeah.
hustles,
Yeah.
personal branding, self-care, and about some fun things that you like. And I know in the
Yeah.
process of your research, you'll always discover new things. So what topic have you written about that has
Yeah.
most changed you?
What topic that I most written about most changed me? The topic that I really like, I'm so passionate about is really, and I think it's personal. For me, is making sure that people have some sort of whatever you want to call it, a side hustle, a project on the side, a passion project on the side. Because, like we said in the beginning, we are more than our roles. It's our jobs don't define us all. So, and a job at a company is not guaranteed. I know this for sure. I felt very comfortable. I wasn't working on anything on the side, and yet I was laid off. So that really surprised me, and I just didn't want that to happen to anyone going forward. So I'm all for having a stable, job, and you love it, but also works on something on the side. So writing about a side hustle or side project is what I'm most passionate about, and it comes through experience. But there's so many ways that you can have these side projects because everything is at your fingertips. Your laptop, you're learning something,
Right,
share it
right,
online, right?
right.
So that's what I write about, and that's what has definitely made me more clear of what I want to continue to talk about and share on the blog.
Right. Side hustles. That would be the
Mm-hmm.
main thing. Hello to Robert Berry on LinkedIn.
Hey,
Of course, Val,
Robert.
you know Robert. Robert is always turning up, and I appreciate that. He says, "Juma Valerie," and a big smiley face. So he's definitely listening in and liking what he's hearing. Thank you, Robert, for
And he's
commenting.
been on your show too. It was an excellent show.
He
He
has,
creates
he has.
amazing content.
I keep on telling him he's very prolific in his content creation. I don't know how one dude like puts out so many different, and he does varying things. He does like text posts and then
Yes,
these images and then videos and live streams and like,
so
come on, Robert.
diverse. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Give
making
us,
us look bad.
yeah, you're making us look bad, Robert. Stop it. You're making us look bad. Oh my goodness. So what was kind of the process of you learning to blog? What was that
Oh,
process like?
YouTube. I'm not gonna lie.
the, the University of YouTube.
University. Everyone has gone through it. If you haven't checked out that university, you're missing out. As it was YouTube, you can call it serendipitous. I don't even know what I was looking up, but then it came on the side. You know how they have the suggestions on the side, and it was this blogger who was doing this. Now that I know, it's like an intro video to her funnel. She just, the way that she talked about blogging, it just seems so easy to understand and to execute. And so
Right.
I watched her video, and then I got her course, which was like very, very reasonable. And I learned exactly how to blog, from a little bit of the SEO to the formatting to heading and all that, just through watching that one video and going through a
Mm,
course. And then over time,
mm,
I, got more courses, practiced. The one thing about blogging, it's all about practice. I'm very
mm.
embarrassed about my first couple of blogs, but now it is definitely has progressed.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I went back in the days. I used to
Yeah.
blog, and I say it that way because technically it was mostly just images when I was a full-time wedding photographer.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was mostly just filled up. The whole blog was mainly images. There was some intro.
Was it on Tumblr or was it?
We had our own website. It was a WordPress blog, a
Mhm.
customized one. It still exists. It's still there. Have you not seen my wedding website?
No, I should check it out. What's the name?
You should check it out. It's not really recently updated, because of course we're leaning into commercial work now.
Yeah.
But at a certain time, that was like, I mean, I was like going in with that, but it's not what you do. You write. You've become like a writer, like a content writer, and
Yes.
also certified on HubSpot as what a SEO.
Yes.
Tell us about those things. Why have you decided to go and get recertified and all those different things?
My approach to blogging, it's not about a personal, like it's personal because I select the topics that I think my audience would relate to. Because my audience, I have like a reader persona. I learned this through HubSpot. Who am I writing for? And so I do think that the person that I'm writing for is going through a change in their life. But I write strategically so that it can be searched and discovered and ranked on Google. And that does take, you have to learn courses, you have to go through certification. It's interesting. It's an art and science, content writing, and I love it. I love the fact that there is some parts where it's very like formula driven, but then also there is this art behind it because you have to write for the reader, but then also be very
Yes,
cognizant of the search engines.
yes, 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 yes. Because I think what used to happen before is that many people would just stuff
Yeah,
the thing with things
the
for
keywords.
SEO. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
with keywords, and there
Hmm.
is some finesse because when I read, I read a couple. And trust me, you to get me to read something, you have to try very hard because I am not big
Really?
on reading long text. I am not. So I am reading books these days, but it's mostly just audiobooks. Um,
Yeah, me too. I get it.
yes. So when I'm reading your blog posts, it's like, oh, this is really, it's like it's teaching you, it's literally teaching you
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
Okay, so here's what we'll do, right? I'm going to take a real quick look at one of your blog posts because, and interestingly, that one is one on personal branding. Let's check it out. Let's see. Let me
Okay.
add this here. I'm going to try to share my screen if it would let me. Here we go. And let me show this in the stream right here. Oh, hello, work life, personal branding. All right, so I'm gonna put this on. They can still hear us, right?
Okay.
Okay. So this is
Yeah.
one of Valerie's. This was done in January,
Hmm.
right? This is like the first. Well, probably not the first one in 2021, but one of the early ones in
One of the
2021.
early ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like you talking about when you think of branding, you think of particular things, but then you clarify and said it's not reserved for celebrities only. How
Right.
did you come up with the article like this?
Personally, at the time, I was discovering what was personal branding. when someone asked me that, I think a month prior, and I've never heard of it before, so I wanted to investigate a little bit more and do some more research about it. And so that's when I started just writing about it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
because I was on a podcast and he asked me about my personal brand, and it kind of caught me off guard. You know, they don't teach you that, especially when you're in a corporate setting. You don't really think about your personal brand. You're always thinking about the company. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
that's why I
yeah,
think now it's so important that we talk more about it, because we are more than our company.
yeah, 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 yeah. Most definitely. I mean, how
Mhm.
does that make you feel that when I know you got caught off guard, but how did that how did that make you feel on that podcast when you were asked that you didn't know?
He noticed in my face. He's like, "Oh, I noticed that you not comfortable with that." I'm like, "I've never saw myself as my own brand, because I've only I've only represented other brands. You know, I worked for two top brands for over, I mean, collectively almost like 15 years together. So I just didn't know what my identity was back then. So it is self-discovery, right? And when you put yourself out there, um, I hope that this article helps on how to strip that away, and to let people know that there are ways that you can discover it and ways to put yourself out there.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I think that seeing someone, because you move so rapidly, you moved so rapidly, and I don't know how did you move. I guess it was just a dedication to the thing. It's like, between 20. So what kind of character, or what kind of person do you have to be to move so rapidly from, like, oh, I don't know what a personal brand is,
Oh,
I've just been laid off, to now, like, being a content writer and being like, what kind of, because I know you talk about it in your blog, but what kind of person does that take?
oh gosh. I'm gonna I think it actually is the community on LinkedIn. And I know that you are sharing this with a wide audience, but being on LinkedIn, it really kind of motivates you. I see you creating content. I see Robert and Steven making content. And I don't know, I just love learning from visually watching other people. It's not in getting inspired by them, not definitely not copying, but just being like, oh, that's interesting. I'm very observant. Let's just say that. Like, I'm very, very
Yeah,
observant.
yes,
So I
yes.
pick up on things. I'm like, oh, and then I want to like test it out myself. So I think that's what drives me is my curiosity. Like
Right.
I cannot control it at all. I definitely follow it.
So curiosity, being observant,
And then
right?
being in a community that of all these other content creators, you can't help but be inspired by them.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I get something every day when I log on.
Yeah.
So let's distill that. So you
Okay.
definitely have to be in community,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
You have to be curious, right? And of
absolutely.
course, you talked about being observant, which is kind of part of being curious.
Hmm.
And then you have to then actually apply some of the things, like try the thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to try the thing. And at what point did you know that these efforts were, like, you were going in the right direction?
Hmm. When I started seeing the engagement come through on LinkedIn. And by the way, like, I started off 2020 with two words. You know how a lot that was like the buzz thing in the beginning of 2020? Like, name your word that you're going to stick to for the rest of the year. Well, I picked two. It was experiment and execute. And so I
Oh,
held those as like my, if I was going to do anything, and that would always be like my guiding principle for the rest of the year, those were the two words. And I think about it, and people remind me because they'll hold me accountable. Remember, you said, experiment, execute. So I can't wait for the year to be over and
this
pick
is what's this
another word.
2021? The year is over. Did you do it
Oh, it was
mid-year?
2021. Sorry, it was at the end of 2020
Oh,
and going into 2021. Yeah,
oh,
sorry.
I was about to ask you what were your words for this year.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
about to
yeah.
ask you.
No,
So
it
experiment
was like, you know, I think like December 29th on 2020. I had to pick something for the year to come.
oh,
Yeah.
all right. Let me say hello to Dana. Dana on LinkedIn, Dana Rambaran. She is a faithful member of the Useful Content community. She's throwing up her bulbs for Valerie and saying good afternoon. I know it's still morning where you at, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this room
Yeah,
loves to turn off
the
light.
light, the light has a personality of its own. It's sentient.
It's the like motion.
Oh, it's motion sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your light thing. So hello to Dana, and thank you so much for saying hello to us. What were we saying? Okay, so you got LinkedIn Live. Did you get LinkedIn Live or no? Not
I
yet.
haven't yet.
You
I
haven't yet.
applied, yeah, but I haven't yet.
So you applied it. So when you get it, what are you going to do with it?
That's a good question. I am a co-host on a show with Jeanette Colarusso and Jessica Williams, and we're right now off of we're on a break from season 1. We're going to go into season 2 in September, so look out for that. So I am a co-host on a show, and I love it. It's so much fun. When I create my own, I'm thinking about it. I definitely would love to interview people who are in the middle or who have successfully made a career pivot, because I think those are stories that should be shared on the platform to inspire others to not settle and to go for it, because here's the story. So definitely thinking about that when I get my access. Hello, LinkedIn, for my LinkedIn Live.
LinkedIn, come on, give
Come
Valerie
on.
access now. You know,
Yes.
she's been a good LinkedIn citizen.
Yeah,
You
I've been
know,
contributing to your platform.
yeah. She's been using captions and turning up
Yeah,
daily and doing things, to have engagement going.
yeah.
I think the LinkedIn police are really like hovering over, waiting for you to share personal stories. So that podcast that you mentioned, that show, is it a podcast? It's a
Oh,
career
the
hustle and
live
flow.
Career Hustle and
Yes.
Flow is a live show on LinkedIn Thursdays. And right now, I am working on taking the part of the content, the audio, and putting it into a podcast form. So look out for that. I'm learning how to do that. I found this tool. Someone, Matt Gower, he introduced me to Descript. It's a tool.
Ooh.
Have you played with that tool before?
Uh-huh. Okay. So you're bringing things up that I can talk about. So let
Yay!
me
Give me
okay.
some
So
tips.
all right. So Valerie, I don't know, you didn't notice this, but Descript is what I use every single day. It's every single
Oh,
day. Like all of my videos are edited in Descript.
it's the
You
best
know.
tool.
Yeah. So using it for a podcast, because it's a really great audio editor, it's a great video editor, it's
Yep.
a great for transcription, it does all those different things. And now they have some new tools that you could use to fix the audio, get studio audio and
Mm-hmm.
different stuff in it. And recently I've kind of signed up for the beta program for a new version of it. And yeah, there's lots you can do with it. Where do you do your captions right now? Oh, what did Valerie go? You came off screen. I can hear you, but I don't think anybody else can. You have to show yourself. What's that? What happened? Okay, there you are. You're back. 3, 2. Yeah, I don't know what happened
That
there.
was interesting. Okay. Um, yeah. So for what was the question? Sorry. See, it's live. This is what
We were
happens.
talking about the script, and I was kind of asking, what do you use it for your captions?
Oh, right now for my captions, I use an app on my phone. I forgot the name of it right now, but it's a separate one. So I think I know where you're going with this. Maybe I should just run it through Descript.
So have you started using it already, Descript?
Yeah, I have. I have. I've taken the video from Career Hustle and Flow, and I'm only just doing the audio right now and taking bits and parts of it and
All
editing
right.
it. Yeah, that's how I'm
All right.
using it.
Are you an iPhone person or an Android person?
iPhone.
Okay, well, the software you're using is probably Clips. It might be
Oh,
Clips.
for the captions?
Yes, it might be. I'm not sure. Because that's like the easiest. That's a free piece of software that you can use to create captions on your phone. It's pretty
Mm,
cool. Yeah, it may or
Yeah,
may
I
not
think
be.
I do one too many steps. So I really need to like pare down and just pick one so I could save some time, right? That's the whole thing about using these type of AI tools is to save time. So I know I could do a better job at that. I'm trying to look right.
Uh,
It's mixed captions is what I use.
Mixed captions. Okay, I don't know
Hmm.
about that. Robert is saying, ugh, Valerie, no iPhone. Robert is such a hater on Apple.
He's such Robert.
He's such a hater. You're such a hater, man.
He is for
And
Apple.
yeah. Yeah, so Dana's saying that's Juma's favorite thing to use. Yeah, Descript is one of my favorite programs to use. Yeah, you're right. You're very much right about that.
It's like editing a document, and that is so up my alley, right? Because I write and I just like read through, I can find the things that I need to and just pull things up. Like it's so easy to use. And especially
Yeah.
if I don't have to worry about the video and the way it looks, I'm just really concerned about just the audio and pulling out those key moments. It's
Yes.
been it's been amazing. I have fun with it actually.
Yeah, I think like somebody because I'm like a more of a design brain rather than
Uh-huh.
a technical brain. I tend to want to use the tool for things it hasn't really been designed for specifically. So I am now trying to find ways to animate in the tool by using cutting the regions of the text. And I've been doing it to some degree with some success. And
Hmm.
it's not really designed for that, but it's almost like taking the features of the tool and little features and trying to tweak it for yourself so that you can use it. And so you might
Right.
actually learn some things about the script that I'll never learn. And it'll be good to check in with you like a couple months from now to see what amazing things you've learned. Because clearly you're a prolific learner. It's
Yeah.
clear that you learn so rapidly, which is cool.
Yeah, I did. That is one of my characteristics when I take personality, those like strength finders and all of those tests. I think it's very crucial to take it when you're going in through a career pivot. And love of learning was, I think, my number two strength.
Right, 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 right. And that was something that is something that is being demonstrated clearly in your process. All right. So
Yes.
you said some things about yourself on a recent post. Let me just run through some of these things and why Robert is giving so much trouble in his comments. Yeah.
What is he?
All right. Yeah, he's just
Robert.
having he's arguing the merits of Android in the comments now with Dana. Um all right, so I know you mentioned a couple of times that you were a fashion buyer, and
Yeah.
but you wanted to be like Vera Wang, you wanted to be a dress
Mhm.
designer, and
Mhm.
is that something you might still want to do, or that's done?
No. No.
That's done. That's done.
That
That's
is
done.
done. It was done once I started learning about merchandising and buying.
All right, great, great,
Yeah.
great. And since retail, well, before retail, what you did say you were, I mean, your story is so interesting. You were laid off twice and fired once, making smoothies.
My first job.
What can you call the name of the place or no?
It was Juice Appeal, and I don't think it's open anymore. I lived in the Bay Area, so it was in Oakland, and I was doing really well, and then I got bored, and so it showed in my work, and so they let me go. So bad. It's so bad. It's so embarrassing. But I was a
No,
teenager.
you saw it coming, I guess. I mean, you
Yeah.
know it got
I made it
things get
happen.
boring.
Let's say that, right? Like when you lose interest and you don't care anymore, it will manifest in that way.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the things that is true. So I guess that being in retail for so long, you didn't lose interest in that, which is pretty cool.
Mm-mm.
And then at some point you had an interior design and home
Yeah.
staging business, and
Yeah.
uh, and it was too successful, so you closed it down.
No, no, not at all. Um, I I was laid off for the first time. I was laid off. I decided that I wasn't going to go back into corporate. I was going to try to the entrepreneurial route. I've always wanted to test my business knowledge skills.
Right.
helping a company grow, you think that you have the chops for it. But it's so different when you're on your own, right? You wear so many hats. You can
Yeah.
obviously relate.
Mhm.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and that became overwhelming. Um, when I was through my interior design and staging company, so I would work with real estate agents to stage homes. Um, when you work at a company, you don't have to worry about marketing. You don't have to worry about getting those leads or sales. People come to you, right? But
Mhm.
on the flip side, when you're a business owner, you have to do so many things. And I learned quickly, but I wasn't really enjoying it. I didn't even really like staging or interior design. I just thought it was a pragmatic, transition from merchandising a store to merchandising a home. So
Right.
that first career pivot, it wasn't steeped in passion. It wasn't steeped in curiosity because I loved it so much. It just made sense. And
Right.
that's why I
Right.
chose it. And that's why it
Right.
didn't stick. I think
Right.
what makes a career pivot successful is you have to have passion for what you're disrupting your life
Mm.
for. Because during those
Mm.
moments of, gosh, this is really hard, or, oh my God, I really messed up on that. During those moments, you're going to want to quit, but it's the passion and the curiosity and the drive for excellence that's going to keep you moving forward. And because I didn't have passion for interior design, after 2 years, the business was fine. But when I had an opportunity to go back to being a buyer, to not having to worry, not having to learn new things about interior design, I took the chance and I went for it. I went back to being a buyer. And then that's when I got laid off again. So what I thought was job security really wasn't security at all. But the point is that I think when you do make that career pivot, you have to have some sort of passion to drive you during those low moments.
Yeah, that's so many lessons right there in everything you just said. So many lessons. So you said that it's not necessarily about the logical next step or the thing that you
Mhm.
think makes sense.
Right.
It's about what appeals to you and what you
Mhm.
feel that you're passionate about.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
will ensure longevity in the career that you choose. So
Yeah.
you know,
And
and
I just
that's
recently wrote about this too. Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's so important because I think people, they do a career pivot and they're like, well, I want to make more money.
hmm
Well, you're probably better off staying in what your current role is in a short period of time to make more money. Then you need to just maybe change the company. You need to be
yeah.
entrepreneurial inside a company, because making a lot of making more money in a career pivot, it takes a while. You're starting from scratch. So that's
Mhm.
the cautionary tale that, I hear it all the time. I get DMs all the time, and advice, people asking me for advice because I put my personal story out there on LinkedIn, and I do get these questions all the time. Well, I want to make more money. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, you're better off staying where you're at, honestly,
Yeah. Yeah.
and doing
Yeah.
something on the side. Then if you were looking for more money, do a side hustle, make more money on
Yeah.
the side, and see if you like it first before you make a complete pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. I agree with that 100%. I think like in my instance, I had
Mm-hmm.
never wanted to be in business. That was never the thing. But it turns out I lied to myself a little bit because it
Yeah.
turns out that all of the actions that I took pointed towards that, even though my brain was logically saying, I don't want to
Uh-huh.
do this. But then over time, it kind of led up to that where it made, so I had to resolve it over a period of time that this is what I should be doing. Um, it didn't take away from the fact that it was terrifying though. Like it was like
Mm-hmm.
having to go out there and moving from a company that you know is fairly stable and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like job security, the thing you were explaining,
Mm-hmm.
into a place where everything that you earn, everything that you build depends on the efforts and the things that you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that moving that's a mindset shift. Does your article talk about the mindset shift?
Mm-hmm. I go
Yeah.
through it a lot. Yeah, it definitely there. there has to be some sort of growth mindset, which is not afraid of failure, willing to learn from your mistakes and moving forward. So I talk about it a lot on my blog. It's huge. It's probably bigger. The first thing that you have to have.
Yeah. So I predicted that the kids would burst in the door, and they successfully just did that.
Are you going to see them on screen or no?
No, they don't. They are not allowed to be on screen. They're not old enough yet.
Okay.
At some point, they'll be on screen. I don't have my kids anywhere on the interwebs. But eventually they'll be able to do that when they've kind of grounded themselves here. They'll be able to put themselves out eventually.
Nice.
By the time they hit secondary school, the moratorium on their imagery being out there should be lifted. Or that would be high school. At some point we'll decide on that when they get old enough. But we want to keep the baby pictures so that if they ever get really very well known, we can only rehab these set of pictures.
Yeah.
It could be like, yeah, this is there in the early stages and stuff like that, so yeah, I do agree with you in terms of you have to have a growth mindset and change the way you think in order to run a business. And I think one of the key things, and that is really very important, that has been coming up over and over again, and one of my mentors told me in the very early days, one of the key characteristics is it's just discipline. It's just discipline. It's having discipline and being able to apply yourself to one thing, focus on that one thing, and do that one thing over a long period of time.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the month in August, that was my one of the content that I created on LinkedIn and shared was FOCUS is the acronym. I heard it from a podcaster, John Lee Dumas, and it's FOCUS, like follow one course until success.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good acronym. So it plays into the discipline that you need. That helps because I tend to, I'm doing better at it, but I tend to follow those shiny objects too. And I think it comes with that inherent like curiosity, but then it kind of can get me in trouble too.
Yeah, the shiny red ball syndrome type of thing. Yeah, that's something that John Espirian talks about in his book that I read, The Content DNA. So it's really a true thing. All right. Is there anything that you want to tell the people about that is important to you that you want them to know? I know we spoke about let me just put this up. Your blog, ohhelloworklife.com. That they can go check out your content there. Really excellent blog writing about career pivots. And we went through all the topics before. Let me just run back through it again. You talk about, let me see, career changing, leveling up your career, launching and growing your business, things for business success, side hustles, personal branding, self-care, and of course, every now and again, you have some of the fun things that you like. And if people follow you on LinkedIn, what will they get? Tell us.
Oh, okay. So if people follow me on LinkedIn, you'll get content that is a mixture of my career-changing journey, because right now I'm also focusing on building up my professional writing resume, and I'm freelancing for small businesses, ghostwriting or creating blogs for businesses for their company blogs, because I think it's so important to have content for your company online. If you think about it, 90% of the searches are coming from Google, and they're all start with the searcher's intent. That it all pretty much starts with a question. And so if your content from your company answers that question, that's awesome, because you're creating that authority in your space and you're creating that trust, right? So it's not a conversion yet, but a blog article to answer a question is definitely the very first touch point. So that's what I'm not just career pivoting into my own personal blog, but I also am a freelance writer and writing for other companies. And
Great,
business
great, great,
owners.
great. Great, wonderful. And I love your content. I love what you've been doing. You were actually one of the persons on my earliest show of the New Links on LinkedIn show. And at that time you were pretty shocked, like, why would you write about me? I remember you being pretty shocked about that.
Yeah,
Which
I
I
was.
was surprised that you were surprised because, you know, you had really engaging content. You were writing freely about your kids, which was very interesting.
Hmm.
So I was thankful to be able to feature you on New Links on LinkedIn. That show is kind of like dead now because I have the useful content creation show,
Hmm.
but yeah, you're the alumni of that show, so
Yay!
that's
But
good
those are
stuff.
when you get those moments that people point out to you, you have to like take it in and take it in as data points, right? Like, oh, maybe I can do this. And so you helping pointing that out and putting that out there actually just helped me gain confidence that I should continue to pursue more and more into content creation. So I should be thanking you for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, glad to be of help. We both help
Yeah.
each other in that sense. So this is
Yeah.
quite appropriate that you would be here now. So that's great.
Yeah. Full circle.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Valerie, for jumping on with me today. Thank you so much for the useful content community and for leaving
Yes.
your comments here on LinkedIn and wherever else you're leaving comments on YouTube and on Facebook. It was great talking with you all and seeing you today. Maybe let's play some of this theme music here as we go out. Can you hear it or no?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, it's a great Saturday. Thanks again, Val, and I guess I'll see you on the platform.
Yeah. I'll see you. Thanks everyone for joining us.
All right, bye everyone.